George Bush. Some people love him, and others seem to hate him. George Bush. I hate you with a passion. No Child Left Behind took all of the art teaching jobs away and has adversely affected my hipster lifestyle. And the two sides never seem to get along.
Stealth bomber, put that hipster out of his misery.
I mean, I can't even afford to be a vegan anymore.
Thank you for your introduction.
You're welcome, George. Strong opinions can inspire powerful works of art, so for the remainder of this video, I'm going to help you draw the most controversial man in the world. I promise to leave my personal politics aside so that I can help you create a great drawing. It doesn't matter if you've ever studied art before. If you follow the instructions and take your time, you'll be amazed at the quality of your work. Before we start, I recommend that you hit the link in the video description to download a step-by-step cheat sheet with pictures and text that will accompany the narration of this video. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Just click on the little old man in front of the stealth bomber. Let's begin. Step 1. Observe, then draw the shape that you see. This will be President Bush's forehead. Notice that the eyebrow region at the bottom of this shape is similar to how a child draws a bird. Step 2. Observe, then put in the two shapes for W's hair. Take your time and compare the size of each shape. Step 3. It's time to put in W's peepers. Instead of just focusing on the eye, I put in the entire eye region. Step 4. In Step 4, I added the bottom of the nose. Take your time to notice the spacing between the eye shapes and the line for the nose. Step 5. Add the wrinkle lines to the side of the nose and President Bush's mouth. Notice that the region between the top lip and the bottom of the nose is trapezoidal. Also, notice that the former president's top lip is extremely thin and that the bottom lip is only slightly thicker than the center part, where the teeth are. Step 6. Add the chin to your drawing. Also, notice the extra shadow line that I added. Step 7. Add the neck shape and the two ears. Don't stress too much about the shape of the neck, but know that most caricatures of the former president portray him with big ears. Democrats and Republicans can both agree that W has some prominent cartilage on the side of his head. Step 8. Add the teeth. Be sure to notice the strong shadow on the sides of the mouth, but resist the urge to go too dark between each tooth. Step 9. Spend some extra time on Step 9. Add in President Bush's eyes and eyebrows. His eyes seem smaller than the average person, and there is slightly less space between them than most people. Also, be sure to notice that there is only a small amount of space between the eyes and eyebrows. Finally, add in more detail than usual to the region under each eye. Hey, welcome to the shading part. You're going to see me use a blending stump and a paintbrush. If you don't have either one of those, just simply use a Q-tip for this part. Starting out with the eyes, as I always do, President Bush has bluish-greenish eyes. They're lighter eyes than brown eyes. So I'm not going to go as dark, but still it's going to be one of the darker areas of the face, despite the light color. Bridge of the nose, I am just going to, slowly start to indicate that the left side of his face is in shadow and the right side of his face is going to be, somewhat brighter. The portrait artist, I'm using the official portrait of George Bush as a reference image. The portrait artist, I guess, wanted to be dramatic, and Put half of his face in highlight, the other half in shadow. But you know what? We're ready for that. We can handle that. Moving on to the hair. President Bush is in his 60s right now, and I think he was late 50s, early 60s when this picture was taken. His hairline is not going to be as strong as somebody, say, in their teens or in their 20s. Even if you maintain a full head of hair, you have thinner hair as you get older. It's a very gradual transition, even if you are drawing somebody in their teens or 20s. But that's even more dramatic. You want to emphasize that a little bit more. You want it to be a little bit slighter of a gradation from the forehead to the hair. That's very important. You'll see that I indicated on the two temples, the two upper temple areas, certain darker parts, that's okay. But remember, it's not a line across, it's gradual. Just refer to the reference images, in the cheat sheet. Hopefully you've downloaded that and you'll see what I mean. Back to the eyes, back to the eyebrows. If you get the eyes, you really get the likeness. I'd say that's the most important feature to get on a face. And you want to make sure that you get the wrinkles underneath his eyes. Again, he's in his 60s or late 50s when this picture was taken. And you want to indicate, more wrinkles and more lines on the face than somebody who was younger. I use the paintbrush a bit, but actually I use it less than I did, say, in my last portrait with Michael Jackson, where, he was in his 20s and I needed a really, really smooth look. This one I'm going for a little bit rougher and more marks on his face. That's a rule to remember. The older a person is, the more, tones, the wider the variety of tones that you're going to have on their face. Somebody that's younger, it's really, strong lines around the eyes, the bottom of the nose, the mouth, and everything else is really slight. Somebody older, that's different. I'm working in with a 4B pencil and a 7B pencil, I believe. And of course the paintbrush, and I'm using that kneaded eraser quite a bit. You just saw me stretch the kneaded eraser. It's really helpful if you dab the eraser or stab with it onto the page instead of rub it back and forth. Because if you rub it back and forth, it winds up damaging the page, and it winds up smudging the graphite, and it makes it impossible to erase. But if you dab it, it picks it up more. I always underestimated that, but that's a very important tip. The surface that you're working on, if it's manipulated, it changes it, and you don't want to really rest your hands, like you're seeing me do, great, on the piece of paper, because the oils in your hand, can get to it. But use a slip sheet if you're worried about that. I'm resting my hand on the side of the page, but not on the part that I'm drawing. And also, like I said before, the smudging can be very damaging. I'm using an old-fashioned pencil eraser to do the really detailed parts. The kneaded eraser, sometimes if you need to press a little bit harder, it's tough to do with that. So I'm just using the end of an old-fashioned pencil. That works too. With the warning that you could damage the page if you do it too much. Here. Okay, this is the 7B pencil. I'm starting to put the finishing touches on my drawing. And I'm making sure that I get that area, on the sides of the mouth. Making sure that the whites of the eye are not really showing too much. That's a tip for President Bush. He kind of squints when he smiles, more so than the average person. And you're not going to see a lot of the white of his eyes. You can hint at it, but it's going to be toned down. The neck is darker in tone, and like I said, our right side is going to be darker. His left side, the left side of his face, is going to be darker. And there's a really strong shadow on the left-hand side of his face, right in the middle of that, highlight, a really strong highlight, and shadow for that matter, on his left-hand side of the face in the chin area below the mouth. To the edge of the face below the mouth. Darkest points that I'm observing right now, below the chin, the eyes, and right above the ears, in the hair. Alright, I think we're finishing up. I hope this tutorial helped you. If you have a question, I answer as many questions as I can. I hope this video helps you and inspires you to create a great work of art. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.